Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm going to be kicking off a new project in the shop, and I know you guys are saying that's all you need, Keith, it's a new project, but we've got several cane mills, or I've got several cane mills out here that I need to get started on and get restoring. They're piling up, and I need to get working on these. I kind of like to get some finished before I bring new ones in. I've got two mills right now that are kind of disassembled and in various stages ready to go back together, but both of those mills are kind of at a standstill right now because I'm waiting on parts. One of them, we got to make the new drum, and I've been making progress on that pattern, but we haven't got the new drum cast yet. It's going to be a while before we get to that one. The other one is a little Golden's number 2 mill, and I'm waiting to get a casting in hand on it for a bearing. It's already been poured, it's at the foundry, and I've already made arrangements to get it. Instead of him shipping it, there's a bunch of stuff I got to pick up, so we're going to meet somewhere here in the next couple weeks and get those. But as soon as I get that, I can hopefully get that Golden's number 2 mill kind of wrapped up and out of the way. But in the meantime, I want to get started on a new one, and today what I want to do is get this one taken apart and out to sandblasting, because that usually takes a week or two to get stuff back as well. And I really can't start working on it until I get that done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. Today we want to get this mill taken apart, inspected, just see if there's any surprises in here. You know, I'll be honest, this mill here, I mean, it's operational right now. It works. It's just not in the greatest shape and obviously needs some TLC, but I'm not anticipating any major problems in here. Of course, that's usually not a good assumption to go into something, because then you'll find something major, but we'll find out as we go. A little bit about this mill. This mill is made by the John Deere Plow Company, St. Louis, Missouri. It is a number 810 Hercules mill. This mill is very similar to the other John Deere mill that I've kind of got started on. That's a John Deere Amazon mill. There are some differences between them, but they're very similar in design. I believe that both of these John Deere mills were actually made by other companies and just marked as John Deere very early on in the company. I don't think they were actually truly made by John Deere. They were just kind of sold by them. This mill here, I've actually seen other examples that I'm pretty sure is the exact same mill that is badged something besides John Deere. So again, I'm not the expert on this, but that's kind of my thinking right now. But regardless, we're going to get in here and take this thing apart and get it going. This is for a customer reviewer. He brought this down a while back, and it's taken me a while to get to it. So without further ado, let's get in here and start taking this thing apart and see what we can come up with. Where to start? I think what we're going to do is we're just going to start taking the gearing off first, get this out of the way, and then kind of work over to the mill. We got a drive reduction system here, so this comes in off of your power source, which was likely a steam engine or maybe a gas engine, something like that, that you had a flat belt on that would come over to this, and it would go through a reduction system to slow everything down. So we go from, you know, a fairly smaller pulley on the power source up to a larger pulley. That's reducing the speed of this shaft. Then we go from a large one here to a small one to a large one. Again, reducing the speed. So, you know, this one's going to be running at a slower RPM than the engine. This one's running at a slower RPM than this shaft. And you got another gear reduction here, small gear to a large gear. So every one of these is slowing it down. These cane mills run very slow, somewhere between 4 and 6 RPM. Is about all you need on them just to pull that cane through and crush it. Let's start by pulling these bearing caps off over here. I've already gone around and squirted them with some penetrating oil. That one's barely on there. So let's get these off. They are not very tight. Whoop. Look there. I could do that one by hand. All right, so got those off. Like I said, I think I got a little plastic bin down here that I'm throwing my hardware and stuff in just to kind of keep it all straight. The parts that are going to go for sandblasting, I got a pallet over here I'm going to pile them on. So let's pull off the first bearing shell, and a couple things. First impressions, the shaft looks pretty good. I don't see any major scoring on it. It's kind of dirty right now. I'll have to get these cleaned up and inspect them better, but we got Babbitt on this one, and again, just first glance, looks pretty good. I can't tell how thick the actual bearing liner is in there. We'll get all that checked out. One thing that does come to immediate note here is they have put grease zerks in these Babbitt bearing shells. That's kind of a no-no. We don't like to run Babbitt on grease. A Babbitt bearing, basically the whole principle is that you have that hard shaft running on a softer liner, but then there is a thin layer of oil in there that the actual shaft is actually riding on that thin layer of oil. Grease is too thick. It doesn't give you that good penetration all the way around. You really need a lightweight oil in there to properly lubricate Babbitt bearings. Now, on a cane mill, something that's turning real slow like this, it's not the end of the world. Grease, I would argue, is not the right thing to use, but you're probably not just going to ruin it. On a higher speed shaft, it becomes a bigger issue, but I would still recommend running these in oil instead of grease. Let's pull the other one off here. See what it looks like. It's being a little stubborn coming off the bolts there. Here we go. And again, first impression, the Babbitt and the shaft both appear to be in decent shape. We'll inspect them closer once we get them cleaned up. We will take this over to the pallet and get it ready to go. And I'll drop this down into my pallet and it'll go to the sandblasters. Usually what I'll do on these, because this has the bearing journals in there, I'll usually wrap those up with a couple of layers of duct tape just to protect them while they're being blasted. And I'll tell them at the sandblasting place to, try to avoid those areas as much as possible and keep from blasting the journals. They're usually pretty good about that. So they've got these little blocks back here that kind of pick up the bearing block in the back. It's kind of cobbled together, but when we get this off, these bolts just goes all the way through. I'm gonna have to get a wrench and put onto the bottom. There we go. Now we got a square head sticking up on this one. I've got an 8-point socket in there, and I'm gonna try to hang on to the nut on the bottom. Basically, it's backwards of what they did on this other side. Get these side off. You can see a problem on this one. Looks like whoever welded that on, talk about bubblegum wheels. Oh, we'll probably just rebuild this whole thing. So that's the actual bearing pad. They've got hex head bolts where a square head bolt should be able to go. That's why that was kind of spinning on me. This bracket's going to have to be rebuilt on both of them, but the bearings look pretty good. Interesting. So interesting, this little bracket appears to be cast iron, and this backside broke, and it looks like they tried to weld it back together with just a regular stick welder, and yeah, can't weld cast that way. This one appears to be intact, so yeah, we'll come up with a game plan. I'll either make a replacement piece here, or I don't know if that's going to be salvageable or not. There's missing a big chunk down here in the bottom, but we'll worry about that later. All right, that's pretty much got all that off. Let's move up to the front shaft there. Front bearing blocks and drive here. See if we can get it off. Get a little tension on that. And we'll pull these bearing caps out. Again, doesn't look bad. We'll know more once I get them cleaned up. That one there's got issues. Looks like the whole bearing shell has just kind of shifted in there. It's going to probably need to be re-poured. All right, let's get this one over onto the pallet. Let's see if we can get these bearing pieces out of here. All right, these are kind of, looks like they're welded or peened over on top of a piece of all thread that goes through here, and it is just not coming out. So I'm just going to take a zip wheel and cut these heads off. We're going to be replacing all this anyway. And these should pull right off now. All right, with the drive system all out, we're going to come over here and start working on getting the mill itself taken apart. Get some oil on these top nuts and get these out of here. Go ahead and hit some of these other ones that I see as well. Don't have to come apart. And go find another wrench here. That came off easier than I expected it to. That's good. Before this job's over, I'm going to have every tool in the tool cabinet out. And get a different wrench for this one. That one's going to turn the whole thing. Is that coming up or just spinning? It looks like it's just spinning. Great. All right. Let's see what we need to do here. These, dadgummit. These rods are going to get replaced anyway. I'm not worried about messing these up, so I'm going to just need to get it up a little bit. And I'm probably just going to use a zip wheel and cut that off once I get it up a little bit higher. That one's turning all the way down through as well. And I don't have anything to grip a hold of that one. I think we're going to get that one off. There we go. See if we can get this cross brace off. It should lift up now. There we go. Get these bearing tops off. Okay, again, we got grease in these instead of oil. But, and again, the bearings don't look terrible. The journals look good. That's all good signs. Get that to come out now. There it comes. All right. All right, now we got this little chute here. Okay, that comes right out. It was in there it kind of jumped its track. This normally fits down in here and locks in place, but it was kind of twisted in there. This is where the cane feeds into the mill. And it is reversible. If you want to run the mill the other direction, you can put it on this side. So we'll get that out of the way. So the next thing we need to do is get the bearings loosened up here on these rollers. There's some half bearings on these bottom rollers. It looks like there's a jack screw that's coming in here. It's just a bolt that kind of goes up into the block here, threaded in, and that it looks like it's just adjusting out to tighten these up. So I'm just going to put a little penetrating oil in here, and let's see if we can back those off. Looks like about 13/16 maybe. Get over here on the other side, and this one here is loose enough that I can just do it with my fingers. And that should loosen that up. Other side going as well. There's a little sheet metal guard back here in the back, probably just to keep the cane debris from falling down into the frame of the mill. I'm going to take it off. All right. All right, that bearing is out. That's Babbitt. And pretty rough looking. We may have to replace that Babbitt, but that's no big deal. There it comes. That one looks a little better. So now comes the fun part here. I believe that the only way to get these rollers separated from the frame is that these gears are going to have to come off. So I'm going to have to rig up some kind of puller or something and see if I can pull these off. This one has a key in it. I don't see a key in that one. There may be the remnants of a key in there. I can't tell. But this is going to be the most challenging part of the whole thing so far. So get some of that crud out of there. Now I'm struggling with this roller, but I think I've got it up enough to get the bearing out. I've still got to deal with this roller or this gear on the end, but this is getting in my way, so that is no longer in my way. Now let's see if I can get a puller in there. I've got a bearing type puller on here that's actually back behind the gear to pull it off. I can't get it to budge. I'm gonna put a little heat on this and see if we can get that gear to swell up just a little bit or loosen up a little bit, expand a little bit, I guess is the right word, and hopefully come on off of there. Just gonna have to struggle this off. It's gonna take me a while. All right, one down. Let me get reset up and I'll see if I can get the other one off too. That worked pretty good. So let me catch up where we're at here. I forgot to hit the record button a while ago and almost missed this, but I caught it before we finished pressing this completely apart. So to get this gear off, I ended up just kind of cobbling together a homemade hydraulic press here. I've had to do this for other things where I can press stuff in place. In this case, what I did is I took a piece of 3/4 inch plate. I just cut a little horseshoe piece out of here that fits over this shaft back here. And then I've drilled and tapped 4 holes for a 3/4 inch rod. I've got my 3/4 inch rod. I got another plate on this side, and we got a hydraulic ram in between. Now this is a 50-ton hydraulic ram that I've got in here that I can run with my power pack. This is my power pack that I use over on my hydraulic press. I can take it off and use it with these portable cylinders. I've got a couple of different cylinders. I actually had to purchase this one for this job. I just didn't have one the right size, but it will get used in other setups like this, I'm sure, down the road. These things are extremely handy. So here's what we did. We got this in here. I got a pusher rod in here, and I've already started the process. It did not take that much pressure. I mean, well, I got 50 tons here. I was watching the gauge. I mean, I might have only used 10 tons of this to actually get it to break loose. Once it broke loose, it's just coming right apart. And I actually went through, and this thing's only got, you know, maybe 2 or 3 inches, well, not even that, probably 1.5 inches of jack in it is all it's got. It's a compact cylinder, doesn't have a long stroke, so I had to reset my stroke, which is where we're at right now. And yeah, since I've already got this broke loose, I've got a little pendant that I can control this. I actually, whenever I start, I stand way away in case something breaks or whatever and parts go flying, just a safety feature. It's already broke loose here now. It's not taking much, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish pressing this apart, and hopefully I can kind of catch this before it all crashes into the ground too bad. It's gonna hit the ground, but in fact, let me get a piece of wood and put down there, a piece of plywood or something, so that when it does hit, it doesn't hit the concrete. It's just coming right out. There we go, all separated. So next we got to kind of get these side frames off to get the rollers out, and there's a scraper that kind of goes in between here that I've got to get disconnected first. There's a bolt down here on the bottom that kind of holds it all together. There we go, get that out of there. It's just got this little piece here to adjust it. Get all those pieces out. Now that should be loose, and our frame should be ready to just kind of come out of here. Let's see what I got to do to get it out though. I think I should be able to kind of lift this whole, piece up here. I can just kind of bring this out the bottom. That is broken. There's a little piece that connects in the bottom of this. That should not be broken, but the piece is here, so I think we can braze that back together without too much trouble. But since that one's out, I can kind of, well, actually, let's see if I can get it out this way. So basically you got these end pieces here. There's just a long bolt or threaded rod, or whatever you want to call it, that goes down through here that on the top kind of clamps it all together. You've also got some here. This is just all thread. This goes up to the bearings. And I think what I'm going to do, I mean, ideally what you would do is unscrew all this, but this stuff is rusty crusty. So I think I'm going to replace this hardware anyway. So I think I'm just going to take it and just cut it right now. I'm just going to get my Sawzall. I'm just going to cut those off, and just so we can get this thing apart. We'll probably do the same thing on the other side once we get over there. So actually the other side I'll probably be able to lift all the way off because I have the rollers out by then, but let's go ahead and cut this side. Get that scraper out. All right, I'm on the other side over here. There's nothing holding it in. The rollers are out, so I'm just going to lift this one straight up, get it off of the studs here. And I think the last little piece here is this base. And it just kind of fits up over the 4 posts. It's full of crud. Rods, these just kind of come out. I'm going to go ahead and take those out. In case you were wondering why I wanted to replace this hardware, I'll zoom you in. You can see how rusted away that is. There's hardly anything holding it in there. Yeah, you can see that should be solid all the way down there, and there's, I mean, just hardly anything holding those together. It's just flaked up on the outside, but they're rusted away like that as well. Yeah, we'll be replacing all that, and I'll probably use some solid rod rather than all thread, and just thread the ends. It'll hold up better. Well, we got a pile of parts. This is pretty much all the parts of the cane mill over here, and game plan here is that I'm going to come in and get this ready to go to sandblasting. I'm probably just going to clean up the shafts where the bearing journals are. I usually just put a couple layers of duct tape on that, so and tell them to just kind of avoid it when they're sandblasting so that we don't damage those journal bearing areas. I'm probably not going to take these apart any farther than they are, just to keep things simple. There's no reason for it to come apart. We just need to get it cleaned up, so we'll do that. The Babbitt in these, I think what I'm going to do again is, most of the Babbitt stuff, I'm probably just not even going to send to sandblast, and I'll probably just clean those up with the wire wheel, except for the main casting over here where the bearings are kind of integral in there, but these little bearing pieces that just clamp onto things, I probably just won't even send those out to get sandblast. That way I don't get any sand in the Babbitt if I decide to reuse it. A lot of that Babbitt I think is fine. We're just going to have to get it cleaned up where it's going to be easier to see, and I'll get over to the parts washer and clean that up. So I'm going to get this stuff ready to go to sandblasting and haul it down to my sandblaster, and it usually takes them a week or two to get that done. Then we can get this back in here and start working on it. So the wooden frame that this whole mill sits on is in pretty rough shape. It's not like just rotting, but it's approaching that point. So again, talking with the owner, I'm going to get some treated lumber and rebuild all of this, yeah, have a good clean frame for it to go on. We'll probably go ahead and try to get that knocked out here while we're waiting on the sandblasting to get done. I can go ahead and get the frame built. These studs here, I believe, actually go down through the frame, so it's all kind of sandwiched. When you tighten that up, it just kind of sandwiches everything together. So, and we'll be replacing all this hardware as well. I don't like the fact that, like these over here being rusty like that. When you get down that wood, chances are there's going to be some severe pitting and stuff down there. Up top, it's not bad, but we'll go ahead and just take care of it. All right, guys, we've taken it apart. I'm going to do some work getting things cleaned up, ready to go to the sandblasters. I'll do that off camera, get this stuff hauled off. We'll get this mess cleaned up in here because I do have a mess in here, and hopefully we'll be getting this mill put back together here before long. Again, all in all, I don't think it's that serious. All in all, I don't know that we're going to have to do a whole lot of Babbitt pouring on this mill to get it back in shape. Again, we'll know more once we start getting in there. I know there's 1 or 2 bearings on the rollers that are going to need some attention, but most of them I think we're going to be able to get away with, which will save us some time and money. So that's always good. All right, guys, with that, we're going to get out of here. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are greatly appreciated. Big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. All that really helps out and helps support the site and helps me be able to take the time to shoot these videos and bring them to you. Guys, with all that, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you on the next video. Again, as always, thanks for watching.